Welcome to our masterclass. I'm so excited to be here with you today and to take you on this exciting journey for this next hour or so. There's a lot to cover, an exciting topic, and I'm just really delighted to be here with you today. The masterclass is called What Got You Here Won't Get You There, and it's all about how to bust your mindset myths so that you can create your career and business breakthrough. So now, a couple of things to get through so that you know how to use this masterclass effectively. The first thing I want to say is that busting your mindset myths are critical to changing your results. If you can know how to begin to work with mindset, you will also know that you can change your results quite powerfully to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And this is what we're going to be looking at today. So there is a workbook that comes together with this masterclass, and I highly recommend that you press pause at different parts of this masterclass to work through the questions in the workbook. And you will see an icon at the top left-hand corner of your screen, as you see now, a little workbook icon with a page number, and that will indicate to you where we are in the workbook, and you can absolutely press pause in the masterclass. I will be here waiting for you. I'm not going to go anywhere. Press pause, complete the questions in the workbook, work through the workbook as I go through the masterclass, and then you can press play again and I'll be right here to continue the journey with you. And we've got a lot to cover today, super exciting. So give yourself the time to reflect and really work with your own mindset so that you can begin to uncover them and then bust those mindset myths to get the results that you want. And as I said, this is not a process that happens overnight. This is a process of reflection. It takes time. It's something that you really need to work with and internalize. So this is the start of the journey. This should hopefully plant some seeds. Now, some people do get an incredible aha, as I share the stories and examples and the frameworks. But if you don't get an aha around your mindset myths or how to bust them, don't worry about that. Keep thinking about it. Internalize the processes. Start looking at examples in your own life where things are coming up that are holding you back from achieving what you want. And that will start you on that process of uncovering your mindset myths and then busting them and replacing them with healthy mindset habits to get you on track to achieve the results that you want to achieve. So now let's talk about mindset. What is mindset? Mindset is really, for me, I look at it as the basis or the foundation for how you view and perceive the world. And the way that I like to think about it is almost like a filter through which we see our experiences, through which we view our environment. It's our perspective on the world that is based on our thoughts, beliefs, values, personality, experiences, all of those things that make up who we are. At the very basis is our mindset. And from that mindset, we choose to interpret, or we even automatically, sometimes we don't choose, we just interpret the world and our experience around us, and that creates our responses and our results and our context and our next experiences. And we're going to be talking a lot more about that. But I think really important to understand that it's some kind of filter through which we view and experience our world. And I've got a lovely story that I love to share just to illustrate this point a little bit further. And that is a story of a woman who was sitting in her home one day having breakfast with her husband, and she looks out of her window and she sees that she's got a new neighbor, and her neighbor is hanging up her laundry in her garden. And she looks at this laundry and it looks dirty to her. So she turns to her husband and she says, "Oh my gosh, we've got this new neighbor. She's hanging up her laundry and her laundry looks dirty. I wonder if she's aware of it. I wonder if there's some tips I can give her to maybe, make her laundry cleaner. But it's a little bit strange to be hanging up this dirty laundry." And every so often, every few days, she would look out, and when she'd see the neighbor hanging up the laundry, she'd make that remark again and think, wow, so strange. Why would the neighbor be going to all the trouble to, wash her clothes and then hang up dirty laundry, dirty clothes? Anyway, it went on for a while. And about 2 weeks later, she looks out of her window and she sees the neighbor hanging up her laundry as usual. And now the laundry is clean. And she's amazed. She turns around to her husband and she says, oh my gosh, something must have changed. Maybe our neighbor got a new machine, new detergent. I don't know. But her laundry is now clean. Amazing. I'm so excited. And her husband says to her, my darling wife, all I did was clean our windows. And I think that's just a great story to relate to our mindset. Because when we look through a certain window, a dirty window, we might see a certain picture. When we look through a clean window, we see a different picture. And that's what happens with our mindset. Our mindset is almost that window that we look through that means that we interpret what we see in a certain way. I really want you to hold on to that definition, because this is mindset and this is what we are going to be working with. Because the way we view the world means that this is a strong input into how we interpret the world, and that's how we create the results. That's how we behave and create the results that we want to create. And sometimes our mindsets actually hold us back and limit us. When we have a mindset of, I can't do this, this is too difficult, I'm too old, I don't know the language, I don't have the courage, what happens if it doesn't work? All of those mindsets actually hold us back. And we have mindsets that empower us when we really connect to our strengths, to our sense of purpose, to our uniqueness, when we are centered in who we are. And we are going to be discussing a lot more of this as well. So just a definition of what is mindset. And I want you to understand the difference between growth mindset and fixed mindset. So this was, I suppose, a term coined by Carol Dweck. She wrote a book called Mindset. Excellent book, highly recommended read for anyone who wants to look more deeply into this topic. And she defined two types of mindset, a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Now, a growth mindset is one where we understand that our personality traits, our strengths, our makeup is changeable, it's adaptable. We can learn new things, we can make mistakes, and all of that helps us to grow and develop. Whereas a fixed mindset is the belief that how we're born, our character, our personality, that's who we are and it can't be changed. Now, a person with a fixed mindset will generally take fewer risks. They won't want to make mistakes. They'll be scared to go into something that is unknown because their mindset is of the opinion that what they have is what they have. If they have a talent in mathematics, then great, they can do maths problems. But there's a bit of a fear of the growth or the risks that's required to delve into unknown territories. Whereas with a growth mindset, a person would be way more open to trying new things, making mistakes, allowing people to take over some things, even if they won't necessarily do it as well as they would. It's a mindset that knows that in order to grow, you need to try new things, you need to take risks, and you need to develop and even make mistakes. So that's the difference between growth and fixed mindset. And a person with a growth mindset is much more likely to be able to identify mindset myths and then work on busting them. A person with a fixed mindset would tend to say, well, this is how I am, this is who I am, this is how I was born, this is how I was made. I'm sure you must have heard that comment, well, this is who I am, love me as I am. Absolutely, it's true. We don't want to go around changing other people. But if we can recognize it in ourselves and understand that we can change ourselves and we can grow ourselves, we are not born with a certain thing and therefore nothing can be changed. We actually can change aspects of our personality, of our intelligence, and a whole lot of other things. So when you have a fixed mindset, it's a little bit harder to identify mindset myths and work with them. It's not impossible, but it starts with that awareness of moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Now, I've got a goodie for you and a little gift that I will explain in just a few moments about that. Another thing I really want you to know and take away with you is that we all have what I call superpowers. Those are our unique strengths and talents as individuals. But one superpower that we all have is our thinking, our ability to think, and our ability to work with our thinking. And that lies with mindset. That is our strongest superpower. That is the superpower that everything else is built on. if you know that your thinking is your superpower and you can work with your thinking to achieve your highest potential, then you can change your results to anything that you want to achieve really, and really get to that breakthrough that you're looking for. So if you're feeling stuck at the moment, you're in the right place, because this is where we want to be. We want to be in the place where we understand that our thinking is our superpower. It's changeable, we can work with it, and we can develop a new mindset that will help us to develop the thinking that we want in order to create our results. So, knowing that changing your mindset can change your results is the very starting point of our journey today. So, let's get going. Mindset myths. This is what we're going to be looking at. The mindset myths are those that hold us back, are those mindsets that we hold on to, our beliefs, values, experiences, frameworks, thinking, whatever it is in our mind that is holding us back or keeping us stuck in a particular place. And this is what we want to do today. We want to be able to discover them, uncover them, identify them, understand what are those mindset myths that we're holding on to. We then want to bust them so that we can create healthy mindset habits that will help us to have more empowering responses and behaviors and actions so that we can get those powerful results and breakthrough that we're really looking at or looking for. And this is a journey that we are taking today. So let's go. As we start on this journey, I've got one goodie for you. The first gift that I want to share with you, and the details are on page 10 in your workbook, and that is a mindset assessment. So if you're curious to know whether you have more of a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, please head on to this link, daphnahorovitz.com/mindset, and you can take a short quiz which will enable you to see whether you have typically more of a growth mindset or typically more of a fixed mindset. Now, I do want to put in a caveat here that in certain situations we can have a growth mindset and in others a fixed mindset. It is changeable. It is something we can work with. So go ahead, explore your own mindset, and head onto the quiz link and see what it is, and let me know. I'd love to hear. So I'd like to begin with my story. And this is a story that takes me back to when I was 3 years old. My parents took me to a music concert, and I was so moved by the music, apparently, that I jumped out of my seat and started dancing on the platform, nearly on the stage. And my parents were just delighted, and they took a picture to remember this event. And I'm so glad that we have this photograph, because it really takes me back to that time where I was fearless. I was so courageous. I didn't care what people think. I didn't care. I didn't feel embarrassed in any way. I just loved the music. I wanted to dance, and I got up and I danced. And I have this picture to remember this moment by. And it really grabs me, because for me, this is a moment in our childhood where all of us have this experience, where all of us, before fear sets in, before embarrassment sets in, before, humiliation or shame, we have a moment where we can just be so moved and do what we want to do in the moment. And that's a little bit of what I want to get back to here today. That's a little bit of how we build those healthy mindsets and healthy habits to connect us with our most powerful selves, our highest potential. So I would like you to find a photograph of yourself, at age anything between 3 and 8. If you can't find a photo, think in your mind of what you looked like as a child, at your cutest, most adorable, most gorgeous self. And you can see there's an icon here for page 2. And what I want you to do on this page is to think of 3 words that describe who you were at this age. This is a picture of me at age 3. And for me, the 3 words that come up are fun, adventure, and curious. I know that I was such a curious child. For me, I asked questions about everything. I wanted to know how things work. I wanted to know what makes people think the way they do or behave the way they do, what makes things work the way they do. And I constantly asked questions. I was a huge problem solver from a young age and wanted to understand. I think my key motivation was wanting to understand. So the 3 words that I associate with myself at that time is fun, adventurous, and curious. And I really want you to think about, what are 3 words that you would associate with yourself when you were very, very young? Look at that picture, look at that child, and ask yourself what comes up for you. And now you can pause the workbook or pause the masterclass and work on your workbook and ask those questions. So from that moment, age 3, I'd like to fast forward to 14th of August 2012, where I found myself at the top of Kilimanjaro. This is when I summited Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the tallest mountain in Africa, something that I would not have imagined myself ever doing, but something that possibly that 3-year-old self, when I think of fun, curious, and adventurous, would totally have seen in her future. But the thing is that I didn't grow up in that way. My problem solving and adventurous and curious nature took me down the road of studying mathematics, because for me, mathematics is problem solving. So I qualified as an actuary. This was a challenge. I love challenges also from a young age. Just wanted, if there was a challenge, I'd take it on. So I grew up with this idea that I loved maths. I wanted to explore the world of numbers. Great for problem solving, because with numbers we know that there's right and wrong answers. We can figure it out. We can work it out. There's a method and a way to do that. And my journey took me on a path of studying mathematics and statistics, becoming an actuary, and being that problem solver. In essence, this was one mindset myth that I'd already busted, because as an actuary, there were very, very few women in my field at the time. In fact, I was in South Africa when I studied. In my class, there were less than 5 women students in university. And then when I qualified as an actuary, I think there were over 100 actuaries at the time in South Africa. It's quite a specialized field, but I was only one of 5 women at the time. And when I grew up, thankfully, my parents were incredible role models and really encouraged us to achieve anything we wanted to achieve. So being a girl didn't matter, but I did in terms of academic achievement, but I did get a lot of messages from the environment around me. Why do you want to, go into this field of study? It's not for women. You need to be thinking about, having a family and helping them, grow and all of that. And I was determined to do something that was quite out of the box for women at the time. So this is one mindset myth busted for me. And I'll never forget a story. So when I was really young, actually, I didn't think along the line of mathematics. I always wanted to be a doctor. I had a pediatrician who I was particularly connected to. I liked him very, very much. And when people would ask me that classic question of what do you want to be when you grow up, I would say, I want to be a pediatrician. And I remember so clearly that sometimes people would look at me and say, oh, don't you mean a nurse? And I would say to them, no, I mean a pediatrician. And this is some of the things that we grow up with that start to create our mindsets. I think because of the enormous support of my parents for academic studies, it wasn't an issue. And that was a mindset myth that was busted for me at a very young age. I knew I could study anything and do anything that I wanted to with my life. And I decided to change into the field of mathematics because I was fascinated with that. But I knew that anything was possible for me academically. Having said that, there was another mindset myth created for me because I grew up in this mathematical academic environment, high achieving environment and home where sport was just a non-event. It was completely irrelevant. In fact, when I was young, I hated sport. I hated it so much. I hated sport classes that every time it came up on a Tuesday, I remember to this day, I would ask my mom for a note excusing me from class. I would come up with some stomach ache or this ache or that ache just so that I could be excused from class and really, really hated it. So when I found myself all those years later at the top of Kilimanjaro at the summit, that was a clear mindset myth busted. I never saw myself as a sporty person. In fact, I only started training or doing anything sporty for this particular climb. This climb came up because I was advising a non-profit organization about some fundraising and how to, increase their activities. And we came up with this fundraising idea of sending a group of women, or going as a group of women, to climb Kilimanjaro to fundraise. And I thought, wow, what an incredible challenge. If they can do it, I'm in. And I joined the group and I decided to do it. And for me, this was going from, the world of profession, career, academics, all of that, into the sporty world, which I did not know at all. And I needed to start training. That's when I started running. And today I've run a half marathon a few times. Perhaps I'll get to running a marathon one day. But for me to go from this person who was totally not sports inclined to a person who summited a huge mountain and runs half marathons, complete mindset myth busted over there. So think about, what are some of your stories from growing up, from your life that you've lived, the things you've achieved that have actually been part of maybe your mindset myth busting that maybe you haven't been aware of until that moment. I want to share a little bit more of my Kilimanjaro story, because there's a lot of great analogy between this journey of mine and, the journey of busting our mindset myths. So if we think about that, all of us have our journey, which takes us from our here to our there. And for me, this was the journey of going through life thinking I'm not sporty, becoming an actuary, having this major career change. That was another mindset myth busted for me. And this is how our life takes us along our journey. And every time from here to there. And when we get to there, it becomes our new here. And we get to another, and we, aim for another there. And that's how we go along our journey. So the journey of Kilimanjaro really started with preparation, training, skills, gear, team, and plan. I needed to train. I needed to have the stuff in place. I needed the knowledge, and I needed the plan and the team to come with me in order to make this a success. And then I hit the point of literally breakdown. And this was at this moment. This was the moment of sunrise. On the morning of our summit, you climb through the night to get to the summit. And this was the moment where I thought I could not take one more step. We had been climbing for 5.5 days. This was by far the most difficult part of the climb. I was cold. I couldn't breathe. Altitude does weird things to your brain. Lack of oxygen. I couldn't even move my fingers because they were so frozen. And at this moment, I couldn't take another step. I actually was depleted. All my strength, everything was gone. So all that preparation and planning and skills and knowledge and training came to this point where I could not take another step. And at this moment, my guide came up to me and he started rubbing me and warming me up a little bit, gave me a little bit of lukewarm tea to drink just to warm me up a little bit. And he said to me, listen, I know how hard it is. I know how much you want it. I know how much you trained for this and looked forward to this. You can do this. You can. Believe me, trust me, you can do this. Just focus on one more step. Just take one more step and that's it. And in that moment, something switched on for me in my brain, and I got up and I took that one more step. And I really understood that I only needed to think of one more step. I didn't need to think of all the way that I still had to go to the summit, which at that moment seemed absolutely impossible. I just needed to think about the next step. Could I take one more step in this moment? And when I took that step, could I take the next step? And that's what I did, and that's how I got to the top. And this is a picture of getting up and starting to walk again. And I made it. I made it to the top. That was my breakthrough moment, and that was what I say, that my mindset in that moment switched from I can't do it to I can do it. And when we understand that way of thinking, we know that it is in our mind. So I do say that all the preparation and the skills and the experience and the training got me to this point. But in order to take that one step further, that was in my mindset. That was in my being reminded, I can do it, I want to do it, one more step. So I want to ask you at this point, what is your next level? What is your Kilimanjaro summit? Is it a promotion? Is it a bigger paycheck? Is it a dream opportunity? Is it changing career or starting your own business? Or if you are in your own business, is it about taking it to that next level? More income, more people, more clients. What is your next level? Think about it, write it down in detail. Have that vision in your mind, in vivid detail, and write it down. And here you have space in your workbook to do just that as well. Allow yourself to dream of the best possible thing that you could possibly want for yourself in terms of your own next level. Because if you're feeling stuck at the moment, you are in the plateau. And we all get to this plateau. We all experience it. So that plateau means that we've done everything that we can at this level. We've got to a certain success, and now we're feeling stuck. We want to get to the next level, and we don't know how. It's unknown. It's scary. It's uncertain. We might not even have clarity about what that next level is, and we need to figure it out. But we know that we want to break through. And I have to say that this is a really important moment because we can break through, and this is where it sits in our mindset. So understand, identify your plateau, identify your stuckness. Dream about what it is that you want. What is your next there? And understand that all the skills that got you here won't get you to the next level because you now need something new. You now need to develop something new. And that growth begins with how you view your next level. What is your next there? And if I share my story of changing careers, this is also such a great mindset myth that I busted in my own life, where, as I've mentioned, I grew up in this academic household. I knew that I would go to university, have a profession, get a great job, get promoted in my job, change, places of work perhaps. But I'd always be working for an organization and working up those levels. And that was great. I was doing it. I was on a path, exactly that. Got the promotions, got the great job, got everything that I wanted, so to speak. But then I felt stuck. I felt like something was missing. For me, I was very much in this mathematical professional world, but I didn't feel that from a leadership perspective I had what I needed. I didn't feel that there was enough of an emphasis on people and developing people and what it means to have people within organizations who have needs and wants and desires and dreams and purpose. I didn't feel like I had role models within where I was working that could really allow me to develop to my next level. And that's when I started searching. And that's where I felt very much on a plateau, because it took many years for me to figure out what my next there was. And I knew I'd need a completely new skill set, a completely new way of thinking, a completely new way of doing things. And it was hard. It was hard to be in that space. But as soon as I made that mindset shift around, well, maybe it's something different and let me start exploring it, I could break through and think about having my own business. So I never grew up with a mindset of what it is to be a business owner, an entrepreneur. For me, it was always about going to work, having that salary coming in and doing my thing and doing it well. But when I started to think about, what if I opened my own business? What if I created what I want in my life? I had to shift from a mindset of being employed to the mindset of an entrepreneur. And that was a huge shift, but that's what helped me break through the plateau. If I'd kept the mindset of being employed, I would never have been able to break through that plateau. I had to break free from that mindset and identify a new mindset of what would it be like to be an entrepreneur in order to break through the plateau and get to the next level. So that's another mindset myth busted for me. And when we look at that breakthrough, it's really just like computer games. So if any of us here like to play computer games, we know that when we're at a certain level, we build our skills and we build our competence in that level. So we know what we're doing, we can get quicker at it, we gather the tools, the experience, whatever game you're playing, it's always different. But when we are in a certain level, the aim is to get to the next level. So we have to build our skills and do everything that we know. We have no idea what the next level looks like. We have no idea what the next level of skill, what's going to be required of us to actually be in that next level. But we do everything. We get really great at this level. We know what we're doing. And then when we achieve a certain status or we get the points, we break through to the next level, and that's a completely new ball game. Now, in games, it's fun because nothing happens. There's no real risk. You don't get to the next level, no big deal. You just work at it until you do. In life, it's a little bit more scary. But if you can think about it along the same lines, make it fun because you really are at this level. Everything you know is great for this level, but you're going to have to tap into some new things in order to get to the next level. And the next level is unknown and unclear, and we don't know what it is. So let's build those skills. Let's look at what we need. And we begin with mindset. So I'm going to take you through 3 mindsets for you to examine in order to break through the plateau and start building the mindsets that will help you to break through the plateau and get to your next level. And the first one is about pushing past the fear and into courage. And what this one is about, I'm going to spend more time on this one than the other 2 because this is critical. This is the basis. And this really sits with understanding, who am I? What is my unique strength, my unique superpowers, my brand? What do I stand for? How do I view myself, and how do I show up for the world? How do others perceive me? Do I show enough of myself to the world? Am I able to courageously stand in my values, in my strengths, in my weaknesses as well that I have to develop? But can I get such clarity on that I'm able to operate from that space, that I know what is right for me and what is not right for me, what I want and what I don't want, and really be able to work from that basis. So to make it a little bit more tangible, there's one thing I'm going to recommend here, and that is the Gallup Strengths Finder test, which is absolutely fantastic. So just go onto their website and do the test, and it will show you your top 5 strengths together with the remaining 34 if you go for the higher level. And I do recommend that you go for the full report and start working with your strengths and see how much of your strengths are really expressed in your everyday life, in your work life, in your career, in your personal life. Because when we can be in alignment between who we are and what we do, that's when we are courageous, and that's when we are at our most powerful. And that's what gives us the confidence to take those risks, make mistakes, say what I want and go for it. We need to build our core strengths first as a starting point before we proceed. And another point that I want to make here, maybe another story, is about not being shy of your brand. Your brand reflects your uniqueness. It reflects who you are. And you really want to examine that and be able to put that out to the world. So a great story is the one of Elon Musk, who we all know designed the electric car, the Tesla, and he's got 4 models of the Tesla. And the first model is S, and then he has a Model 3, and then a Model X, and then a Model Y. And why did he do that? Because the 4 models together, the 4 letters spell sexy. And for him, that's part of his brand. That's who he is. He wants things to be sexy. He wants them to be fun. He's adventurous. He will go where no one else has gone. And he is prepared to take a stand for it, to show up as who he is in that. So think about that. What makes you? What is your sexy? What makes you stand out? Don't be shy to put that forward. Some people may not like you, but that's absolutely okay, because what you want to do is you want to be yourself. You want to put yourself out into the world and attract the people and opportunities that are going to help you to be at your best, to grow, and to be able to fulfill your highest potential and your highest strengths. So now I'd like you to examine that. What is your superpower? What are those things that make you uniquely you? And there's a few questions there in the workbook to fill in now on page 4. So go ahead and do that. Do some of that self-examination, self-reflection. And now I'd like to look at our thinking a little bit more. This piece is really, really critical, because what we often think happens is we think there's an event, and we take action in response to that event, and then we see the result of our action. However, it doesn't work that way. I mean, if you can see, the bottom arrow is the one that says event or circumstance or situation leads to a certain action, which leads to the result. It doesn't actually work like this. And this is where it goes through our filter, our mindset, and our thinking. Actually, when we have an event, we can start to think about what is the fact of the event and what is the thinking about the event. The thinking about the event is our interpretation. The fact is just the fact, something that anybody experiencing this event would all have the same fact. I'll give you an example. Say my boss wrote me a rude email. That's an event. My boss wrote me a rude email. Is this a fact? Think about that for a moment. Actually not. There's a fact in there and there's a thought or an interpretation in there. The fact is your boss wrote you an email. The thought that I'm having at the moment is it's a rude email. So let's separate those two out. Understand what is the fact of the event and what is my interpretation of the event. My interpretation is that it's a rude email. What does that lead to? Feelings of disempowerment. What did I do wrong? Why is he sending me a rude email? What did I do? I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. These feelings and thoughts will come from a mindset of I'm not good enough. I'm too scared of my boss. I can't really express my feelings because then my boss will get angry. That is where we sit in that mindset, thought, feeling space. And then you can understand that it might lead to an action and a result that might not be so favorable. So either we'll lash out with an angry email back and maybe regret it a bit later, or we could just feel so bad, go home, cry to our friends and family and just complain about it and feel even more disempowered with work. So next time something comes up, we feel even worse, make more mistakes, and it's kind of like a vicious cycle. Now, what if we had to change that? And if we had to now become aware, okay, we have this event, my boss wrote me an email, that's the event. My thinking is, I didn't like the tone of it. Doesn't sound like I want to be treated. Sounds like something else is going on. Maybe he's had an argument with his spouse. Maybe he's having a bad day. Maybe he misunderstood something. Maybe he's just not getting it. And my feelings would then be a little bit different if I'm starting to think this way. I want to pause there for a moment, because if we come from a mindset of, I'm good enough, I know my work, I do my work really well, then my thinking will be along the lines of what I just said. What's wrong with him? Did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed this morning? Did he have an argument with someone? How can he, what's going on? There must be something going on. And then maybe I want to think, I can stand up for myself. I can set my own boundaries. I can let him know nicely that this email didn't come across so well. I can ask him what happened. Is something going on? And my feelings then are much more empowered because I'm taking control and I'm saying, maybe this isn't about me. So I feel okay. I feel good. I can set my own boundaries. I feel empowered. I feel solid, confident. And then the action will be, perhaps go to his office and ask him what's going on, or sit down and say, look, I saw this email, but I need to have a conversation with you about it because I didn't quite appreciate the way that it came across. And then the result is completely different. So you can see how we can have the same event and land up with a different result based on how we think about it, how we interpret it, and how our mindset is about ourselves. So really important to understand here that we respond to the way we think about the event rather than the fact of the event itself or the fact that the event happened. We really respond to the way we think about it, and our thinking and our mindset are linked. So if we have a strong, empowered mindset, the way we think about it will be different. If we have a limited or limiting mindset, self-limiting mindset, the way we think about it will be different. So I think this is a really important point that I'd like you to take away and carry with you in terms of how you respond to different events based on your mindset and your thinking. Mindset 2 is about pushing past going it alone and moving into community. This is all about building trust and relationships and having a network of people who you can really trust to support you, to guide you, to advise you when you need it most. So what tends to happen when we're feeling stuck or feeling in a situation where we don't know what to do, or we want to get to the next level and we don't know how to do that, is that we feel very alone. We feel very isolated. We think that we're the only ones going through this right now. No one could really understand what we're going through. And that sinks us further and further into this stuckness. What we want to be able to do is identify our community, our champions, those people we can really trust who can help us think through stuff, work through stuff, and support us in the next steps that we need to take. And this is where I want you to think about, who do you know? Who are the people in your circle? And it doesn't have to be a wide circle at all. It can really be 1 or 2 or 3 people that you really trust to go to when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling down, to speak to process with, to brainstorm with, and really get to help you to move past that feeling of aloneness. Because once we shine a light on the feeling of aloneness, we really kind of uncover the, it's like when you have a rock in your garden and you lift the rock and there's a whole lot of insects crawling underneath that they're now exposed and they run everywhere. It's like that. When we're sitting in the dark and we're feeling all alone and we have all that mindset rubbish running around in our brain, you can't do this, you're too weak, you're too old, you're too young, you're too whatever, all those horrible thoughts that come into our brain, the minute we shine a light on them, we expose them, they run away and disappear. And one way of doing that is really speaking to people who we trust, people who are going to support, champion, and love us. And that's what it's about here. So take a pause here and work through the workbook on page 5 and have a look at who it is that you know that can support you. And mindset 3 is think big, start small. And this is a really, really good one, really relates to that Kilimanjaro trip that I described to you. So thinking big was thinking, I am getting to the summit. I'm climbing until I get to the top. Starting small is thinking just of that one next step that I need to take in order to climb, get to the summit. So when we think about how do you climb a mountain, step by step. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Same thing, same principle. But we need to know what is our big. We need to define our vision. What is it that we want? What is our dream? What is our purpose? Is the starting point. Why? Why do we want this? Why is it important? Why are we who we are? Why are we doing what we do on this planet? And that's something we also want to investigate. And the mission is, well, what do we do about it? How do we get it done? So we have purpose, our why. We have vision, our what, our dream, what we're going for. And the mission, which is the step-by-step, what we're going to do in order to get there. And for today, I'd really like you to explore, what is your why? Look at page 6 and 7, 2 pages in your workbook that cover this, because this is a little bit deeper thinking. I absolutely recommend that you do this with a partner. Find someone to ask you these questions if you can. If not, work through them on your own, but really helpful to delve a little bit deeper. Take your time and delve deeply into what is your why. And you'll see that in the workbook you have an exercise about your own why. So I call it the 5 whys, and it really starts with the first why. Why do you do what you do? So think about, your career, or think about your next level if you're clear on what it is that you want, and ask yourself, why do you want this? Why is this really important to you? And when you've answered that, ask yourself again, why is that important to you, the thing that you answered? And then in your answer, you'll delve even deeper. Why is that important to you? And take it deeper and deeper, and eventually you'll get to the core of what's really, really important to you. And this is a great exercise to do. So if I give you an example from my own life, why do I do what I do? Why am I a CEO coach, really focusing on developing extraordinary leadership? Why is that important to me? It's important because I believe that organization and business are run by people. Our results are based on people. And if we understand that we are all leaders and we can develop those people, we create a much more happier and fulfilled world. And it all stems from that point of people. So why is that important for me to develop people and focus on people and understand that organizations are based on people? That's the second why. Well, I would say because if we understand that business is a living organism. It's much more than just performance and results and metrics, which are important. But when we develop people, we really enhance those results of the performance and the metrics. So focus on the people and you'll get your results. And then the third one is, okay, so why is that important to me to focus on the people to get to results? And then I would say because we spend so much time at work. And people at the core, at their basis, they want to know that they're cared for. They want to know that there is meaning to what they're doing. And it's the responsibility of the leaders to really show that they care and show that there's meaning in the work that we do. And then I can go, okay, fourth why. Why is that important? And I would say because that is at the core of every person, finding their meaning, finding their purpose, and making their life and their work mean something. And then fifth why is that important to me? Actually, because that's what gives meaning to my life. When I know that I can help people find their own sense of meaning and lead happier and more fulfilled lives, that's what makes me happy and fulfilled. And I feel like I'm having a significant contribution, making a difference to this world, is connecting people to their sense of meaning. There you go. There's a real depth in that why. So see if you can delve into your own why and really understand what that why means to you. And is it related to the work that you're doing? And how do you build your next level based on this why? So if we look at the journey that we take in terms of our mindset, here's what it looks like. We start with the why. Why is it that we do what we want to do? Because when we connect to the why, we're able to identify the next steps, the next level, and what we need to do in order to get there. It then goes to courage, understanding who am I? And here's where you bring your 3 words from when you were a child, bring it back and identify how are those 3 words going to connect you to your core self and give you the courage to take the next steps and take the risk and maybe even make some mistakes along the way. Community is about who do you bring along with you? How do you create that network or community that is going to support you? And vision is your dream. Identify what is your dream. You did an exercise on that as well. What is the dream? What are you going for? What if you couldn't fail, nothing could stop you, what is it that you'd really want to achieve? And this is the core of the mindset that you want to bring with you on this journey. So look for the mindsets that are holding you back. Those are the mindset myths. Bust them by looking at who you are, why you do what you do, who the people that can support you are, and what your dream is. Bust it, create healthy mindsets around that, and then you're well on your way to part 2 of your journey. And become aware of the mindset that is running your thinking, because then you can ask yourself, is your mindset right now helping you or is it holding you back? Is it moving you closer to your vision or is it moving you further away? And you really want to just take those steps that move you closer to your vision, to part 2 of the journey that takes you from here to there. Begin with mindset, understand your vision, create a plan, and then get into action. Now what happens is when we are in mindset myths, when we're in the stuck place, we sit with a problem and drama. Look at these 5 levels of the triangle and where you want to be in the journey from here to there. You want to be in the first mindset first of all, and then the first 3 levels. If we are stuck in level 4 and 5, those are the levels that keep us stuck. The problem, what's wrong, what's not going to work, what's wrong with me, what's wrong with the world, what's wrong with everything else. Drama is the story. I can't do it because I grew up in this kind of environment, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I'm a woman, or I'm a man, whatever it is going to create a drama for you and a story that you hold on to about what's wrong and why you can't achieve. This is what keeps you stuck in your mindset myths. This is where you want to break through from and go into your vision and mindset. So part 1 of the journey is the place you keep on wanting to go back to in order to enable you to stay in levels 1, 2, and 3, the vision, the plan, and the action. Okay, and that's part 2 of the journey to help you break through that plateau and get to your next level from here to there. So to summarize everything that we've really discussed today, it's really mindset is key. That is the starting point to creating the results that you want to create in your life. So first of all, create awareness around the mindset myths and bust them. Then consciously change some of those mindset myths. Build healthy mindset habits. So instead of I can't do this because I'm too old, or I can't do this because I don't know the language. I know someone that I worked with recently told me that she feels uncomfortable because she emigrated to a new country and she doesn't know the language, so it makes her feel like she can't do as much as she wants. She can't live in her highest potential because she doesn't know the new language well enough. And I said to her, well, do you know anything? Do you have a conversational language? And she goes, yes, I do. I have conversational language. So now, instead of having this mindset myth of I can't speak the language, to healthy mindset habit, I have conversational language in this language and I can build that, changes her perspective and what she can do with that. And then take action. Look at your responses, look at your behaviors, and create the results that you want. So now she can take another course and build on what she knows. She can put herself out there with more confidence, try and speak the language and not be ashamed or embarrassed that she doesn't have all the words. And that's when you take yourself through that mindset myth busting moment and take yourself to that next level of what you need to do in order to get the results that you want, create the breakthrough that you want to create. So here's gift number 2 for you. It's my book that I've recently launched. It's called Weekly Habits for Extraordinary Leaders. And what I'm giving you here is a free sample of the book. So you get the first 20 pages and it's already enough to get you into the habit of changing your mindset. So it talks about habits. It talks about some practical things you can do to master your mindset, inspire your team, your community, the people around you, and elevate your career and business. So head on down there and get yourself the free sample. If you want to buy it, you can feel free to buy it on Amazon. I would appreciate that. So a couple of final thoughts. The one is that it's not about how you can do more. I think a lot of us are pretty much doers. We know how to do stuff in life. Yes, we might procrastinate. Yes, we may have days that are better than others, but we pretty much know what to do. We're in doing mode. Sometimes we need to get advanced, but doing is kind of our default. We need to know that in order to do more effectively or to get the results that we want, it begins with how we can be more. It begins with our mindset, understanding who we are and really connecting to that, really building ourselves from the inside, because then we can see that our doing is more aligned, it's more on purpose, and it is the doing that will get us to that next level that we want to break through. It will give us the courage to ask for that salary increase, to go for that promotion, to go for that dream career opportunity, to put ourselves out there to be more than perhaps some of our mindsets are making us believe that we are. So go for it, do it, work with your mindset because you know you can. And on page 9, I've created a bit of a summary here for you and a commitment. So here you can really say, what are some of the mindset myths you've uncovered? How are you going to bust them? And then commit to working on this. As I said, it is a journey. It's not an overnight process. It's something that you build with awareness and habit and action. So find someone to work with, whether it's a coach or a friend, it doesn't really matter. Find someone that can help you to uncover some of these myths, to work on them and bust them. But today is your starting point, and today is the day that you commit to continue working on your 3 mindsets that I've mentioned so that you can bust the mindset myths that are holding you back and keep growing yourself towards your goals, step by step. I hope you've enjoyed this masterclass. I've certainly enjoyed being with you. I would love to hear from you. So if you want to share some of your insights, some of your questions, please feel free to email me, connect with me on social media, tag me on From Here to There Masterclass or Mindset Mythbusting, hashtag Mindset Mythbusting. I love that term. And let me know how you've busted some of your mindset myths. What are some of your mindset myths? I'm always happy to hear, and I wish you well on your journey to mindset myth busting. Go well.